with 18 days to go until polling day, in the Northern by-election, campaigning has intensified and the mood on the ground is electrifying. I've met multitudes of people who have given me their undivided support and cannot wait for the election day. When I came before you almost 3 weeks ago, I highlighted several cases of electoral malpractice and politically motivated intimidation and violence. I further want to advise you that I had subsequently written to ZEC, the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission, and the Commissioner General of Police raising my concerns. I've since received a written report from ZEC, which unfortunately does not resonate with the powerful mandate it was given as enshrined in the Constitution. For the better part, the ZEC's response were abstract and centered more towards referrals to the police. With regards to continuous voter registration, ZEC's response was that they are still in the process of working out the modalities of effectively conducting a nationwide voter registration exercise, and that pilot voter registration exercise has been conducted only in areas where there have been by-elections as an interim measure. It's very important to capture that. Their response was they are still in the process of working out modalities of effectively conducting a national voter registration, and that pilot voter registration exercises have been conducted only in areas where there have been elections as an interim measure. We need an interim measure, but we need a permanent measure. So it's quite critical that this is picked up. I challenge ZEC to announce their way forward regarding continuous voter registration. As I have noted with concerns, thousands of potential voters who have been unable to meet the registration periods. ZEC must tell us when the voter registration will be in effect as approaching the 2018 elections. This delay is bound to prejudice hundreds of thousands of potential voters. With regards to my concern on the determination of the location of the polling stations, this was as a result of certain polling stations being left out, especially in the urban setup. Their response was as follows. They consulted all stakeholders, but that if I had any recommendations, I could make them before the multi-party liaison committee for the debate. I surely believe that as an independent candidate, I qualify as a stakeholder and therefore challenge ZEC to advise when such consultations were made before me. If it is the consultation, the stakeholders of the 2013 elections, then that's okay. So do we then refer to the polling stations of the 2013 elections, or when there's a by-election, we come out with new polling stations? And who then is consulted there? If it's a by-election that involves me as a candidate, sure, I must be consulted. But if it's a by-election which they're referring to the 2013 polling stations, certainly I would not be consulted. I will ever write back to them recommending that we revert to the polling stations of 2013. So I am still happy to revert to the polling stations of 2013. Because that's basically what people went through, and I think at that point in time, the political parties or the stakeholders involved, I think were thorough to accept that, so there would be no reason why I wouldn't. So with that, I'll be writing to them, rather than them taking out some in the urban, I'll ask them to revert to that. It is my right, and they can't say no. Because that's the agreed position of the 2013 polling stations. There was consultation, it's agreed, but on the by-election of the 22nd of October, there was never consultation. I was never consulted. So I'm more than happy to revert to that, because they came up with fewer polling stations in the urban, and then remained with more in the rural areas. I further brought up my concern regarding the abuse of affidavit system as proof of residence and the loopholes thereof. ZEC is of the view that the authorized officers are familiar with the procedure of commissioning and using the same, and further all gone to advise that any specific abuse should be reported to the Commission for investigation. My complaint was very clear that when a document is being commissioned, there must be a commission of oaths. There was never that. So affidavits are then signed by the person, but the commissioner is not there. They're then taken to be commissioned by somebody who's not there. So the loophole was how many affidavits can be done and still be signed by somebody at their house. Because surely, my understanding of the commission of oaths, they commission the document there, not at their house, not at any given time. So you could see that if there's any abuse, so it was equally not really clear. I will, in my affirmation correspondence to ZEC, detail these cases and trust that it will form a basis for future corrective measures to be put in place. The ZEC goes on to refer all political motivated cases of police or violence, intimidation, distraction of posters to the police and to the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission, who are mandated in terms of sections 133H and 133K of the Electoral Act to deal with complaints of this nature, and that as ZEC, they've drawn the attention of the two entities to this. Not only that, they say they've directed, but we cannot go for an election without that committee being put in place. As I'm speaking, there's violence. So when there's violence, the police say to you, no, we cannot take the report. There's a special commission put in place, which expedites all the violence reports. So the reason why probably you will not hear of a lot of reports of violence in Noto is not because there is no violence. I'll tell you of an incident that has just happened to a war veteran just now who's put in a report. There is violence, but the police are saying no, but there's a special committee that is mandated to do this. And ZEC are saying we've directed that. But in directing the special committee to do that, the special committee has not still been set up. So will we call this a free, fair, and credible election? Because there's something missing. There was one thing pistol in the engine which is not firing. So can we say the engine is complete? Is drawing the attention to the two entities enough though? ZEC is mandated to oversee the election process, and therefore in cases where the special police liaison committee has not been set up to explicitly deal with the political motivated cases during elections, which is the replication and whose responsibility is it? Bringing matters to the multi-party liaison committee in itself is fraught with irregularities. If indeed ZEC and the ZEC therapy cannot stand as an independent and non-partisan entities, as the scales are already tipped in their favor, if they're all on the same side working under one party. My chief election agent has been in attendance to several of these meetings. However, the glaring anomaly is that resolutions are never made, or if they are not adhered to. What then is the point of such meetings? We have minutes of the multi-party liaison committee, which my chief election agent, Kuduzinyama, sits in. They sent me the minutes of that, but in those minutes, there is a lot which is resolved, but not attended to. For example, this special police liaison committee was mentioned, but the police are also part of it, but still it has not been put in place. So suffice to say, ZEC has failed dismally to address my concerns, and the next option may be to be approaching the courts to compel them to into action, or can we say that the election is free, fair, and credible? I'm testing the system. I said it. I'm very thorough. I think this is where probably most political parties are left, in that they don't follow the Electoral Act and they don't challenge ZEC through the Electoral Act. it's through the Constitution of Zimbabwe. So these are the two main documents which guide you in challenging. And I've picked all the loopholes in that. So I am talking to a number of lawyers to come up with a challenge to ZEC. That's not to say I'm not taking part in the election. I'm still campaigning from here. I'm campaigning. I've got 5 meetings lined up, but I'm still saying, but this is not in place. Is this then going to be called free, fair, and credible? That's where we are at, because there are certain things which are missing. These are things which are written down, okay? And we've got to make sure that whatever is written down is tested at the end of the day. To me, if you talk about reforms, the Electoral Act itself, the Constitution are very clear. But what has been lacking is we have so many lawyers in this country, and I don't know why they don't pick on such things. Which they then say, but this has not been done, this has been done. There's nothing that stops the court from saying these elections must not go ahead because the Special Police Liaison Committee is not there. I cite the Commissioner, I cite ZEC, I cite the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission, who should then respond. Have you been set up? Have you not been set up? And if they have not been set up, clearly the election was not supposed to have been given the go-ahead. At this point in time, whether ZEC has no resources or not, it's the president who calls for the elections. You know, the election must go ahead, they must have everything in order. They cannot say, we don't have money. That's got nothing to do with me. The electorate wants a free, fair, and credible election. And if at all they're not ready for these elections and they don't have money, they better advise the thing ruling party to stop expelling people until ZEC has money. Because in expelling people, members of parliament, it then causes for a by-election to happen, and ZEC must then adhere to what it has to do. With regards responses from the Commissioner General of Police and the Zimbabwe Human Rights, I'm still waiting. I cannot go to court because the court will ask, what did you do? I've written to them. When I go to court, I say I wrote to them and there's no response from them. Then that gives me the right to approach the courts, because you don't want to approach the courts before you write. At this point, again, I wish to apologize to UNICEF and retract my allegation that they were involved in providing maize to further alleged vote buying activities in Norton. UNICEF is doing a sterling job in the community, and I would therefore wish to extend my ambulance to regret the misunderstanding and apologies for any inconveniences that have been caused. Subsequent to this allegation, I want to tell you something which I've just picked up, which is the biggest. You see, there is food aid, there's a drought relief program, and I'm hoping that the Commissioner General and everybody will investigate this. Members of Parliament, the drought relief program is meant for the rural areas. So it has come to my attention that the Honourable Member of Parliament for Mondoro Mbaira, Honourable George Gangarao, has been signing for maize to go to Mondoro from GMB Norton. So what he has done, he signs for it, it's loaded, and then he gives it on to Roni Jindeza in Norton and gives it to the airpen. The biggest criminal offense ever. We have the evidence. So he is diverting maize from Mondoro to Norton. So maize has been given in Norton urban where people are being given 2 gallons each. At Kaufa, in Mutob, there's what, 40, and Norton rural, that maize has been given. So the question is that, why would ZANU-PF want to divert maize made from Mondoro and give it to Norton? That's clearly vote buying. And that's drought relief. And drought relief is meant for the rural areas. It's not meant for the urban. So the evidence is there, and I think it will be important to pursue this. I'll be writing to all the authorities. And it's the maize under the World Food Program who will be writing to say that you seem to be aiding ZANU-PF in this election. And we are now bringing them to the attention of that. The paperwork is there. they think track numbers we have, in case they didn't know that we have all the track numbers, which have been picking up the maize, meant for Mondoro. But we also have to ask Mondoro, have they gotten the maize with that track number? That track number has been going around, giving that maize to the Northern constituency, certainly where there is election. So that is vote buying, and it's said for an honorable member of parliament to be serving a constituency that's not his. So I wonder what the Mondoro people, they are starving. And all the people in Norton, in the urban, are being given 2 gallons of maize, which they don't really need. So this is just how unfortunate it is. So GNB has that, and we'll be writing to the police, and we're waiting to see the outcome of the police investigation in this matter. Accordingly, the anti-corruption, and we'll be also approaching the World Food Program for details of its distribution process. We need to get into it. At this point, I'd also like to thank the PDP party and its president, Ndayibiti, for the vote of confidence and endorsement in my candidature. PDP has shown themselves as a progressive movement coming together for the unity of purpose, and I commend the bold step they've made. Despite them not taking part in the election, they've said, let's go out and support Temba Mliswa. This is something which I really expected most of the progressive movements to really do, because I think the common enemy is one. And I think we're also testing the system in this regard. So I really would like to really commend President Biti of the PDP party and the entire party for more or less making that statement, because it certainly gives their members that seal of approval to go and vote. Every vote counts at this point in time. So certainly I applaud him for that. As more and more realize the importance of challenging the system going forward, I urge more and more parties and independents to be involved. It's only when we come face to face with electoral malpractices that we can stand up against them. My win in Norton will be a win for the beginning of a better Zimbabwe. And I further urge everyone to come out in my support. The road may be thwarted with difficulties, but we shall persevere. Unfortunately, the political parties are not on the ground, and they've not been able to gauge the mood of the people. The mood are ready, the people are ready for change. The people are ready for change. And when people are ready for change, they don't need anybody to tell them that time for change is there. What they need to endure is the suffering. The economic hardships are the ones that have made people change. And true to the fact, the economic hardship is what will make ZANU-PF lose. I don't even have to say anything. All I have to say, 2.2 million jobs, did you get them? No. 15 billion that went missing. Did the president arrest anyone? No. Has Chombo been arrested? No. Has Kaskwele been arrested? No. To whose detriment? To the detriment of the people. So you're basically dealing with facts, and you're saying, look at the Northern industry. There's no industry. So you don't even have to do so much. You just have to have the courage to go on the ground, meet 3 or 4 people, and tell them, is your standard of living the way you expect it to be at? And what is the future of the young children that you have if you're facing this sort of life? Clearly, there's no reasonable person who can vote for a party that is making you suffer now, and yet the future for the kids clearly becomes bleak. So it does not have to really require a lot. It just requires you to be on the ground and to say to the people, this is what is happening. This is what I've constantly said about the demonstrations, about the protests that happen, is that you've got to go to the people. The crowds that I'm getting are shocking. The crowds I'm getting are shocking. I thought I would do door to door, but guys are courageous. They want to wear t-shirts. I have ZANU-PF members campaigning for me. I have MDC, everyone campaigning for me. Norton is becoming United Nations. And it's excellent to see people moving forward with one cause. No wonder why, despite some skirmishes of violence and so forth, those who used to perpetrate violence are the ones in the forefront of supporting change. And that's what it is. Certainly, you also benefit from the fighting in ZANU-PF, where there's Lacoste and G40. And Lacoste wants to show G40 and the president that you are nothing. The war veterans equally want to show the ZANU-PF that without us you are nothing, and it's true. ZANU-PF is nothing without the war veterans. They don't have anybody who can mobilize people, anybody who can apply the very tactics of the Chimurenga War to the electorate, which most Zimbabweans were used to. So the war veterans coming on board has been welcome. As national members of the war veterans working with me on the ground, I address the electorate, they equally address the electorate, and why they went to the struggle. So it's Zimbabwe rebuilding itself when the time is right. And I want to applaud all the people of Norton and the people who are behind this for really being in the forefront of pushing for the Zimbabwe that we all want. Are there any questions that you might want to ask? Yes.
Yeah. My question is, I heard ZANU-PF has booked all the lodges in Norton ahead of the 22nd by-elections.
Any reasonable person who does business would have to be given cash by ZANU-PF. Because ZANU-PF is a cash trap. You can't even pay its workers. It's like Urungo West. In Urungo West, they pumped in 3 million in 2 months. They had money then. This time they don't have money. The rural councils have no money. And they think started the election 3 months before. You see, each ward in Norton is commanded by a cabinet minister. Ward 13 in the rural is being commanded by Ignatius Chombo and Madi. So I've never seen, so much traffic of cabinet ministers going there. But no one is really coming out to the meeting. What they don't realize that Chombo is the people's #1 enemy. So when you're sending him in the forefront to go and speak to the people, they see how well he's looking through corrupt activities. They're basically saying the president is still sending people who are corrupt to us. We have suffered because of these people. So if I was a ZANU-PF strategist, I would not even send any of those ministers there. Because people are angry. They get there with their nice cars, with their bodyguards, big bellies, and so forth, yet people are starving. That's not the way to campaign. I think they've got to stay in their thing in strategy. I like it, and Chombo must keep coming, Kasukure must keep coming, because they're the people who the people don't want to see. This election requires the president to do a door-to-door. And his message to the people is, I'm sorry. If he does not do a door-to-door, right now statistically you're looking at 80% to 20%. He has to do a door-to-door, and his message is that I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And that's what people want to hear. But all these guys that are saying, even the vice presidents, have no credibility. If you say in Poko there, he spent money staying in a hotel. When they see him a person who misused people's funds. If you send him Nangagwas there, they see a person who has been insulted by the members of ZANU-PF within the party. So the only other person is himself. That's where we are at. So I think that to me is very clear. Let me also give you to the attention of the report which I received on my way here of a war veteran called Comrade Samuel Chinkonzo. He was the first chairman of the Northern chapter of war veterans. He's just put a report. His car was stormed by ZANU-PF members yesterday, and he's a war veteran. Let me say this to the nation and to ZANU-PF, that I'm facing the only thing that can stop me right now is somebody shooting at me. I think bullet is the only thing that can stop me. But that bullet has got to come from the best sniper in the world. And the best sniper can only be God. A human being will not even trigger that thing sniper. I'm aware that's the only thing that can stop. Even these allegations of me wanting to be arrested, even if I'm arrested, I'm in prison, I'm not convicted, I still win the election. In fact, I'm shocked by now I'm not arrested. I've been saying to the police officers, why don't you just, arrest me? Because I don't feel very comfortable if I'm not arrested before election. I'm wondering what is it that's really happening. I'm to be honest, I was saying to my mom, make sure your food ready for me, because I could be picked up anytime. It's the first time I've gone this far and I've not been arrested, And the truth of the matter is that this election, like I said, ZANU-PF must not be violent. And I'm saying this to them. An attack on any Norton resident will hunt that person and will do a citizen's arrest. We will go to their house. We'll be forced to defend ourselves. And this time I'll lead it. I'm trained to deal with people. And I'll handcuff that person. And I'll hand that person to the police. I will not do the Urungu anymore. We are trained. And ZANU-PF youth cannot fight. If they were good fighters, they can come and help the police in town when those protests happen. You never see them. They are cowards, they don't fight. MDC youth in terms of Shibagera, one kind of because ndipo pamunobuda kasemusangano wemayuth mosangana mayuth avauye vafana emudisa vakaenda zvibhedhlera 2008 the thing president to appeal taenda kuna vakumbi vati vafana vedu vari kurohwa vakati okay guys hachada kurohwana ukona president vati hachada kurohwana vafana vedu vanga varohwa zvitori serious saka havana zvibhedhlera zvavanorova munhu apa ndicho chokwadi chacho chaicho. So to us, we don't want violence, but that's not to say that we cannot defend ourselves. Every citizen of Noto must exercise their right. And Anenga Roma will hunt that person down. The only safe place that they can be is in prison. But we have the resources. So we are ready. This time around, we are ready. Violence, we don't want, but we defend ourselves. We shall not allow a situation where we have violent elections because of a few individuals. Dzimba dzavo tinodziziva, anogara ega, tinomusvikira. Tomidosvika makuseni, tomutora tomuedza kumapurisa toti uyu akarova mai ava, and I am leading that as the commander. With the full training I have, the only group of people that can beat me is over 25. Under 25, I can deal with you. But over 25, niggas rush me. But Pambapa can think anyone 25. And I'm applying my training to that now. I'll protect the electorate. This time around, I'm protected. I am prepared to face anything in protection of the electorate. And we are ready this time. The attack on this war veteran, clearly we're going to hunt this person down. We're going to hunt this person down and we will take him to Mapurisa. And Mapurisa, kune citizens arrested him. Hawana ma resources ekupinda kachinosunga vanhu now. Saka tichanovatsvaga vanhu vacho tovaenda over kumapurisa zvakanaka. Tirove tongomisa cheni tomubvisa tomba mapurisa odila naye. We're peaceful, loving people. We don't need any violence whatsoever. So this is a warning to ZANU-PF. And may those leaders in ZANU-PF who want to encourage these young boys to fight, come in, come. You must come for the fight. One can score in the country. Can you go na kurwa? Ngati ite fight in the national sports stadium. Yema, kuti munhu wese anopinda. Tona kuti anonya sorova ndiani. Not kusala mchituma vafana vaende kunorova vanhu. Mangwana wosungwa vari majeri. And all these young boys in this provincial children's are all rotting in my jail. Nekuti munakapinda in power haizi nekuti wakamufaitira. And kana vachida kunza amwe mayouth kuti vapinde mukati, aiwa takavamirira. Urendo runo takamirira, we are prepared. So let's really have a peaceful election. We want the police to set up that committee and investigate some of these things that were there. But so far, I would not lie to you. I've had a good thing. The police of late, I must say, they've been very much clear my meetings and ma-meetings edu anga vachiclear, saka hatisikunesana navo, chakanaka vakatanga vachitirambidzo tichienda kuhigh court, but iye zvezvo vari kuclear ma-meetings. And ndofunga vakaudza vakuru vavo kuti because pavaibloka ma-meetings vanhu vacho vaitobuda vakatowanda. Ndofunga vakazonzi inini futi ndimi nenge murikubetsera Temba kuunza vanhu. So election has been good. You must be part of it. You must follow us on Facebook. I've told you before, even if you, right now, you open a Facebook page, what happened yesterday is there already. We had a meeting halfway with the Thing Youth, with 1,000 people turning out. Young people, a lot of young people registered, which is quite encouraging at the end of the day, but they must turn out to vote and so forth. I will be announcing that I'll be inviting my leaders in my political parties to say, kurally achaita nemawo veterans kuti vataure vanhu vavo kuti ngatifambe pamwe chete, let's be progressive and so forth. So that announcement will be making very soon. We need President Changirai to come of the MDC to tell his electorate where to go, because you can't win Norton without the command of the MDC saying to his people, vote for Mliswa or go and vote. It is critical. They've got the majority of the wards in the urban. There are 16 wards there, and MDC I think control 12. So I'm going to engage the president of the MDC. I'm sure ZANU-PF will equally like to engage him, but they can't. For me, that's a good thing about being an independent. I'll have coffee with him. Anybody who tries from ZANU-PF to the meeting with Changirai, let me warn you, you'll be expelled. So don't go, I can go. Yes.
Speaking about the committee that you made reference to, that is not yet in place, despite Rita Makarao last month having promised political parties at a meeting that it will be in place and it will be used. It will be working for the first time during the Norton by-election. Suppose it's not in place, are you still going to go ahead with the election?
I'm going to court. Like I said, within the next 72 hours. Then application will be made to court to say this committee is not in place and should the election continue. The electoral court sits at the time of the election, and I'll wait for the determination. And I'll also pick on some of the anomalies which are there. And to me, I think that's the best way. The court will determine, because that's a very important committee. There's been violence that has been happening. It cannot be reported to the police because that committee is not in place. Human rights violations have equally been there in terms of the discrimination of food aid and so forth. All this can only come about if this committee is in place. So we are certainly going to the courts over that matter. And you will hear what the courts have to say. Somebody's hand was, yes.
Okay, I think she just took that question from me, but as a follow-up, there are many issues that you've raised in this conference and in the previous statements that you've done. My question would be, what are the minimum conditions that you have to say if these are not met, either you're going to participate or the benchmark to say this has to be done for the election to be free and fair? Because you've raised a lot of issues that need attention, which have come back to say they've not been actioned. And you've said that you're going on with the election. But what is it that you want ZEC to do? In short, in the police.
I agree with you. If I was somebody else, the current situation on the ground, I'm 80% to 20%, I would not be talking to you. But I'm about the future, I'm about tomorrow. This is just not about me winning. It's about the precedent set. We must test the system. They say that the system must be tested, no matter how comfortable you are. You must equally test the system. In fact, when you're comfortable, that's when you must test the system. And ZEC must be in charge of the elections. And ZEC are still not in charge of the elections. ZEC, there must be an aspect of voter registration, which is an ongoing process. ZEC must ensure that they direct elections by making sure that this committee is in place. And if that committee is not in place, should the election go ahead? No. And ZEC must be responsible for that. It's not the police who are responsible. It's not the Human Rights Commission who are responsible. ZEC directs that. And that committee for me is important because that's a committee that protects the electorate in terms of, and Zimbabwean elections have been marked with violence, intimidation. So if there's no committee that protects the electorate in terms of violence and intimidation, then it's pretty difficult to do that. So that committee to me is a critical committee, because when there's violence, intimidation, you can now use that to actually challenge the election at the end. Are you with me? Because there would be evidence of violence and intimidation perpetrated during the election. And I'm not comfortable, because whatever election we go through, we must have evidence. If I have to challenge the outcome of the results, it's based on facts and on committees which look into that. The Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission has been excellent in terms of writing independent, honest reports. The police too are bound to do that at the end of the day. I think if there are no other further questions, I thank you for the time, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.